So the next thing you want to do here is install the drivers for the tablet. Now you're probably thinking you want to go to the download center of the Huion site. And you could do this. You can come here and you can look for your models. You can say Kamvas Pro 19 and it would pop up this, and you could download the Linux driver. Now I actually don't recommend doing this because when I did this, it actually switched my desktop environment to a X11, even though Ubuntu 24 ships with Wayland by default. So I want this to work with Wayland because I get a bunch of weird operating system things when it switches it. I don't think that's really a best practice for the driver to switch your operating system. It'd be better if they just told us a warning to say, this won't work with Wayland, it has to work with X11. That would be way nicer. I actually had an experience where I tried to do the same thing on another computer and the computer won't run in X11, so I could no longer boot, and I had to go into a recovery mode and actually remove the X11 and put Wayland back in as the default and then restart things that way and uninstall these drivers. So I want you to be warned of that ahead of time just in case you run into that. But so what do you do if you don't want to use these drivers here? There's thankfully another great project called Open Tablet Driver, and this is an open source project where you can come and download Linux drivers. You can actually come and you can see which tablets they support. So we can look up the Kamvas Pro 19 and you can see that this is actually supported. So that's great. And we can go here to the GitHub page itself and see the code and see tickets related to different issues on the project. And let's see here. They actually even have some screenshots, and you can come down here and you can look for installation instructions. I can go to Linux. And you can see here that they basically just say to download the latest release. So you're going to download a DEB file because we're on Debian-based operating system. Ubuntu is a Debian-based operating system. So I can come here and I can click on, I'm going to do Control-click to open the latest releases here. And actually just opened a download that's starting to download here. You can see. So it downloaded this file here. So open the tablet driver. I've already done this, so they added a little one at the back. Essentially, then you just update your package manager. So in your terminal, you would come here. Let's just open up a new terminal and let's expand this and just make it a little larger so folks can see it. So you'd run an update, put in a password for your computer, then that runs an update, and then essentially you would just target that file. So the / says you're in the directory that this file is currently located. And then you would just install it. So you would do something like this. You would go into the directory, re-download it. Probably it's your downloads folder. Let me just show you. So cd into downloads, and then from there you would do something like sudo apt install, and then you could do the open tablet driver like this .deb file. And then you run that, and that would install the driver. Now, once you have that installed, you might be curious how to actually run the program. So if you start searching for open tablet driver, you'll see there's a program here. This is the GUI. Now, if you just start this up without anything else, it's going to have a warning that says it can't connect to the Daemon. So you actually run the program in the background as a different server. So you can see I'm actually running over here this OTD Daemon. And let me show you what it looks like without that. So I'm gonna disconnect from that real quick, and then I'm going to just let me just search for open. Okay, open tablet driver. I'm gonna try to open it without that. So it's trying to connect. It can't do anything because it can't actually connect to the Daemon. It'll probably give me a warning here. So if you want to start this up just to test, once you've downloaded the project and installed it, you can come here and you can start the Daemon this way. Just do OTD. Yeah, okay, so it set a timed out, right? Can't connect, so the Daemon's not actually running. So what we want to do here, let me just make this a little larger. So just type OTD -DAEMON, that starts the Daemon. You'll see it'll search for a bunch of different tablets, try to find support, and then in this case it found support, and it's enabling a bunch of things. So I've already configured some of this, so that's why some of these configurations are set. And then you can basically run your program here. So open tablet driver, the GUI for configuring this. You can see I've already set up a lot of these things to work. So this was confusing to me at first, setting up this output section. I believe that it did correctly recognize the tablet size down here, so it's all in millimeters. So I don't believe I had to change anything there. But essentially this display section was a little weird. So this will depend a lot on how you have things configured in your GNOME display settings. So let me open up my settings real quick. Search for settings in your programs, and then up here on the left-hand side, go to displays, and you can see here that I have a display with these two screens horizontal. So display 1 is our monitor, our primary display, and then screen 2 is our Huion tablet. It's labeled HAT. And then you can see the dimensions of either one of these. So you can come in here and you can see this is a 1920 by 1080 resolution. And over here under this, you can see that the resolution is actually, it's like a 4K resolution, but I've chose to scale this at 200%. Now the reason I did that is so over here on the tablet, I wanted these icons on the left-hand side to be larger and the paintbrushes to be larger. So when I scaled it up like that, it actually makes it seem like it's more of a similar resolution. That's why these things are the same size here. Now, if you kept it at the original resolution, you didn't scale it, this left-hand screen would look a lot smaller on this display. So it changes how you would actually set up your tablet driver over here. You can see that this mirrors exactly this display setup here, right? It's like two blocks that look exactly the same size. If yours was a little different, if you left your resolution as it was, you'd have a smaller screen here and it would show that smaller screen over here. And then to position this correctly, I basically, because I have this zoomed at 200%, you can see if I came here, let me just bring up a calculator real quick. So, the width here is 3840, but if you divide that by 2, you got 1920, and then you have 2160, divide that by 2, that's 1080. So, we have a 1920 by 1080 display size, and then where do we position the X? So the X is actually this little, represents these little dots, the X and the Y, where it actually is. So, we want to push over 1920 because that's the size of the other screen, right? So if we came over here and we saw our other display here, it's at 1920, right? So we want to push it over that much, but then we want the dot to be over the amount of this radius here as well. So then you take your 1920 divided by 2, so 960 plus the amount of the other screen, so 1920. So it's going to be 2880, and so we're going to set our X to 2880, and then we take the radius of our height as well. So you can see here that our height is 1080, so half of that is going to be 1080 divided by 2. That's going to be 540. So that pushes the Y down to 540 there. And then once you have those things set, you should be able to come over here, and your pen should be generally in the right place. So I can come over here. I should be able to draw. I have an eraser right now. Let me just select a pen brush real quick. So I should be able to draw, and I have, the driver lets a sensitivity, so I can push hard and light, and you can see that it actually, it adjusts based on that. So that should generally be working. I can just undo that with a two-finger tap, so you can see that touch is working as well, but I'll show you how to set that up in a second. I don't have any plugins, so there's plugins you can download with OpenTablet Driver. I didn't need to install any third-party plugins to get this stuff working, so you can see that this is empty. The pen settings, I don't have these working entirely yet. Maybe I'll make another video when I figure out how to do this, but essentially the tip binding is just a mouse left. I'm having trouble getting the eraser to actually work, so if I came over here and I were to draw and I flip over, it actually just draws with the eraser end right now. So my solution for now is, you just come up here and you select it individually, and you can just get rid of it that way. But it would be nice if the eraser was actually bound to the correct thing. So I thought E would work for a shortcut to eraser. It doesn't. I was able to bind these as well. I've changed this several times, and actually I don't think it's working at the moment, but I did have right click working, so I could come here and I could hold down one of these buttons here, and I could click and it would do a right click to open up my brushes. That's actually not working right now. I'm not sure what I changed to make that not work. So, in general, at least the drawing is working at this point. You know that you're off with your resolutions on this first page over here in the output, if when you're drawing, your pen is not in the correct place. So like if you're drawing here with your hand, but the pen stroke is happening over here, that means that your resolution is probably incorrect of how you have that set up. So anyways, that's basically how you can go about setting up this to start and get the drawing working at some level. Now, the other thing that you might have trouble with here is the touch. So that's something that I struggled with. Luckily, I was able to find this post over here on the Stack Exchange website that talks about how to actually set up touch for Wayland. So most of the touch guides are about X11, so this was helpful to actually have someone come and talk about Wayland finally. So I came over here, and you can see that it references another blog post with some more details. It talks about how you can basically use this G settings to set your GNOME desktop touchscreen to a specific screen. So this blog post over here is the blog post that they referenced. You see that it actually talks about getting your config monitors XML file information. So we can come here, we can grab this, and let's just take a look at that real quick. I'm going to open a new window, and I'm going to do a cat on home monitors config XML. Oops, that's not what I want. Okay, like this. So if I do this, let me make it a little bigger so you can see it. So if you run that, it's going to spit out a bunch of XML here. I'm going to make it a little small. I think that's actually going to be easier to see. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to look for our information that pertains to the Kamvas Pro. So you can see here we have a monitor with a connector that's HDMI 1. That's how we're connecting it. The vendor is HAT. The product is Kamvas Pro. And then the serial number is this. So we're going to use that information. And then we're also going to, let's just open up another window here. We're going to do an ls USB command. Let me just make this a little bigger. So ignore the stuff after it. We're not using that. So ls USB, that's going to list all our devices here. And you can see, you can see things like the microphone I'm using right now is plugged in, but also we should have our Huion tablet here, and that gives us the IDs here that we're going to use. So with that information, you should be able to come here, and they have a command. It's also listed here. I'll put these both in the description of the video. We can grab this command here. I'm going to copy it, and let's just open up a new window. I'm going to paste it. Now we have to replace these items with the information from these commands, right? So the first one we're going to do is we're going to come here. The first thing that we're placing, let me see if will this be easier if I do it like this? I think it's a little easier. So we're going to replace the monitor serial number and come here. I'm going to grab the serial number. In your terminal, you hold down Shift in order to copy. So hold down Shift, Control C to copy. Come back over here. I'm going to get rid of everything in this bracket, and I'm just going to Control Shift V, paste that in. Then we want the monitor product. So I'm going to come over here. The product is the Kamvas Pro 19. Copy that. I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to paste this in like this. And then our vendor monitor over here is, our vendor is HAT. Okay, so we're going to copy that as well. And let's just come back over here and let's paste that in. And then the last thing we have to do here is we got to replace, so we have a vendor ID and a product ID. So you can see that this information right here. So vendor and product ID. Let's move over here and get rid of this. You can see there's a colon right here in the middle. We're going to put that in as well. So I'm just going to get rid of both of those. I'm going to come over here and grab the information here. This is vendor colon product, and I'll just come and Control Shift V, paste that in there. So once you have that, you can press enter and run this command, and that should, without any restarting or anything, allow your touch to start working on your computer over here. So I can come and I can zoom. I can pan with one finger. I can zoom in. It actually works pretty well for the most part. I believe the touch actions are a little off. So like if you were doing one finger tapping, we can do two finger tapping, right? So I drew that little smudge right there, but I can get rid of it like that. Two finger to undo, three finger would redo, so I can put it back on the screen like that. Basically, you can set up your shortcuts. I made another video showing how to do that, but essentially you come here to your settings, configure Krita, and then under your input settings, you can basically change the gestures under each one of these different settings here. So there's, for instance, zooming, you can see that there is a gesture of a two-finger drag, right? So you can change all these, you can remove other ones, but essentially that should just get your touch working. I think the touch is a little off if you're trying to do things like control clicking with a finger tap. I think it will appear like, potentially around a different area. So I think that maybe the touch still has the wrong resolution. So that might be something still to fix, but essentially this is how you would go about getting some of this working. And at this level, the tablet's working on a basic level. We have the drawing working, we have the touch actions working. It'd be nice to get the eraser working. It'd be nice to get the touch in the right place, but maybe I'll make a follow-up video on that once I figure out some more of that. But hopefully This gets you going with some of the initial setup, just so you're not completely spinning your wheels and not able to get working with your tablet at all. If this video is helpful, just let us know. Give us a thumbs up or give us a comment. I'd love to learn better ways of doing things. If you figure out ways on your tablet, let us know about that too. And yeah, just stay tuned to our channel and we'll make more videos like this in the future if people like it. All right, see you later.